Good afternoon. Welcome to Who's Tom and Dick? With your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer.
Howdy, Patrick.
How are you doing, Martin? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic, thank you.
Good. You're looking well today.
Yeah, I feel really good at the moment.
Not that you don't look well every other Friday I see you, but you do look well today. So, what have you been up to this week?
Well,
Anything exciting?
there have been days when I haven't looked good, but well, I got a little infection, but I went to the doctors. Mm-hmm. It was just in my jaw.
Right.
Yeah, people probably say I talk too much, but no, I woke up one morning and as I was touching my jaw, it felt so sore. And even when you yawned and you sort of open your mouth really wide, and I thought to myself, I shouldn't keep doing that. Yeah, so a bit like the Tommy Cooper joke. Yeah, yeah. And I thought to myself, no, I mustn't keep doing that. And then I went to the doctors, and she's given me antibiotics, claramycin. So right. I'm under them for a week, and I thought I had to give up my cancer tablets, but they said no, you can take them with them. Yeah. So which was a surprise to me. They said if I was in hospital, that had happened. So
good.
What about you?
Well, not too bad. I've been looking at the old forums and the messages that have been coming in. We've had some quite interesting messages over the last couple of weeks, and one particular stood out from one lady called Anne, and she said, "We love your podcasts and all the guests that you have, but you don't really talk about yourselves that much. So I thought this podcast we'll do a bit about us, shall we, and have a chat just generally about our ailments.
We want to get more viewers. We don't want to push more.
It is a thought because we've been we've had so many guests wanting to come on. We've still got a list of guests lined up for this year. So I thought this 30 minutes we'll try and fill in a bit about ourselves.
I'm up for it.
So if you want to tell us what you've got.
What about me?
Yeah, and then I'll answer any questions. I can ask you any questions.
How far are we going to go back? Are we going to go?
Well, let's start at the beginning where we met. Hey, how's that?
Well, we met. Yeah.
Yeah. Where did we meet?
Well, I was a builder, and you was a draftsman. I remember.
Yeah.
And I remember my first wife saying to me, "There's a man who's a comedy hypnotist, and he wants a support act." And why don't you give a tape to, that was to Julia Mortimer, actually, the lady in question whose husband might be listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Tony.
That's my brother.
Yeah. So anyway, she took the tape and she gave it to you, and then you invited me around your drafts. Well, at your
office. At the time,
yeah, but you was doing something else in there at the time. Weren't you letting properties as well, or
no? It's just architectural work, really. Drawing properties and things like that.
I suppose it's because you had a front and a back, and I thought there was two different things going on there. No. But that's where we met, didn't we?
That's
first
right.
of all,
yeah. And then
I remember the year
1993,
because Arsenal played in the cup final that year.
That's 30 years ago.
God, 31, yeah,
31 years ago. Blimey.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was doing a stage hypnotic show at the time, quite successfully, I might add.
Yeah.
And I needed somebody to do all the music and all that sort of thing, more of a technician as well.
No, that was after I did that.
Was it?
Yeah. I first come along and done the first half for you with Sue Brooks.
Oh, that's right, at Ipswich, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then we went to other theatres, Lowestoft.
Yeah.
That was when we first actually got together.
That's right.
Then we
developed.
Yeah, then we went around and I did your sound, like you're saying.
Yeah.
You did it for me a few times as well.
Yeah,
so,
I remember, We were the first, or I was the first hypnotic act to break into Ipswich, believe it or not.
Ahead of Paul McKenna.
Ahead of Paul McKenna, because to do a hypnosis show you need a licence, and I applied to Ipswich Borough Council for the licence. And of course, there's loads of questions asked because nobody had put a hypnotic show on before. And eventually, after being on the news, radio, and local press, they granted the licence. And we did the show, and that's the first one that you're talking about.
Yeah, Lowestoft Marina was the first show we did.
Yeah.
And that was, I'd never done a professional show like that before. I'd only actually ever done one professional show, one paid show before that. The Sudbury Birdcage Society.
It's a bit little cramped, wasn't it?
In Sudbury and Hillcroft Hotel, which is still there to this day. And And then the next one, bang, I was there at the Lowestoft Marina, 1,500 people it held, and we sold over 3/4, didn't we?
Yeah.
And so that what a start in show business.
Yeah.
And I still think back and think, wow, I went on there in all that dark. I remember being on the stage and it was all dark because I don't know if many people who listen have been on stage. You don't actually see much apart from the front 2 rows. And then once the front 2 rows, it's just darkness. Yeah. So all you hear, hopefully, being a comedian like I was in Impressionists, is laughter.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. So, and I did hear laughter.
It is a great experience being on stage like that, especially in a big theatre.
Yeah.
You know, you get the spotlight on you and then that blinds out all the audience. So you're almost working to 2 rows.
Sudbury, we did that as well, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah. And then we moved on, didn't we? We decided to form a comedy double act.
Yeah, it was you suggested that.
Yeah.
I was doing me being the builder, and you wanted to move your architect to your home, and you wanted the garage converted, didn't you?
That's right, yeah.
And so I converted the garage, and you said, why don't we form a double act?
Yeah.
Which is, for those of you who don't know, I've written a book, and I'm just waiting to get it printed. So I'm looking for sponsors to print it. So if anybody wants to sponsor me on my book, please get in contact. And I'm going to put all the proceeds to the Cancer Trust.
Yeah, yeah.
But one of the chapters in it is, shall we form a double act? And that's what you said to me.
Yeah.
And me being as a solo act from your shows, it was a big thing to me because obviously sharing an act and who's going to be the funny man, who's going to be the straight man, who's going to have the butt of the jokes, who's going to, I thought of all these things and I thought, well, while I'm on my own, I can just do what I want.
Yeah.
But it's funny how you have to think. And even when we do this podcast, you do have to think, don't you? You know, so you thought of it and I mean...
Then we started working on some material.
Yeah, and it just came from nowhere. And then suddenly, like this podcast... We're going to announce at the end of this who we've got on next podcast, aren't we?
Yeah.
And this podcast has just gone so big, so quick, just like our careers did with the show business and all that.
Yeah.
We, 1 minute we were doing a charity for some club, and then next we're in some theatre somewhere and. Oh, of course, tell them about how we started the actual getting the routine together in the showbiz, in the talent shows. In
the village hall, you mean, down at our local village hall, we used to go and rehearse. And that was haunted.
Haunted, yeah.
Bawley Rectory is the most hauntedest place, if that's a word, most hauntedest place in this country, I believe. If you type in Bawley, you'll find the rectory has got a lot of history with regards to ghosts. And we were...
Well, the rectory's not there now, is it?
No, the rectory's burnt down, but we were rehearsing in the Bawley Rectory Village Hall.
Yeah.
Which we were both scared like anything.
Scared to be on our own. I don't think either of us said it to each other, but we both didn't want to be last.
No. So we were both out there like a bat out of hell, really.
I've never been to the toilet quicker in my life than I went to the toilet there.
Yeah, so we rehearsed all of our comedy there, didn't we, in the evenings, and then performed during the weekends, and we decided to enter some talent shows, didn't we?
Yeah, they were funny.
Which were really funny.
Yeah, the first one was down in Worthing, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
And Doc Cox, who used to be on a programme called That's Life in England, was the compere of it. And then suddenly all this radio crew came in, and we thought, a talent show down here, why are they coming to do this? And then we found out it was called The Talent Show from Hell.
Yeah.
And we didn't know.
They didn't give their artists the best reception, did they?
No, and there was barbed wire on the front of the stage, if you remember, to stop people getting out. Because what happened years ago, nobody used to come to this talent show. So what they did, they invited all the youngsters from the local universities. Well, on a night out with all these kids from university, you know what they're going to do. And, one girl I remember, she had a condom full of water thrown at her, didn't she?
Yeah, that's right.
It was just beyond... And we got a fantastic review. We did. We got away with it, didn't we?
Well, our act must have been half decent because they liked us. We didn't get booed off the stage.
No.
Some of the acts didn't last there, 30 seconds, whereas we did our whole routine, didn't we?
And the thing was, it wasn't even a gong show like that.
No.
It was just that some acts got booed so much they walked off the stage.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. But we stayed on.
and the review said that we were like Reeves and Mortimer.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's good enough for us, isn't it?
Well, did it say that, or did it say Reeves and Mortimer get away with something similar? I think that's what it said.
That's
if I remember
right.
rightly.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
You're
yeah,
right.
but we took that as a feather in our cap, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, we were only starting out as a double act, and that was our first review.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if it was you or me, we paid a lady who paid in the newsagent to send us that paper, didn't we?
That's right, we did, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
But, suddenly came to me.
And then we moved to Eastbourne. Do you remember the Eastbourne talent show? The one we won?
I remember winning it, but...
Well, Eastbourne is God's waiting room, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I know where you're going to go now. Yeah.
And we went to Eastbourne, and we actually won that talent competition because some of the material we did was so old, most of the people in the audience could grasp it, I think. But,
And my brother's friend...
That's right, yeah.
Took us all around. He knew Ken Dodd.
Yeah.
And Ken Dodd had been there before. And he knew my brother, and he said we were like stars, weren't we?
With him, yeah.
He said, "Excuse me, this is Martin and Moore. They're here for the show tonight." Yeah. And everybody said, "Who?"
He'd taken over, really, hasn't he? As our promoter for the day, I think.
I know, but we went around there for a lovely roast meal, I remember.
Yeah.
Beforehand, and he took us to this room, and he showed us all the room, and he said, "That's Wes's hats." And I thought, "What's my brother's hats doing in his cupboard?"
Well, he said, "Wes has slept in that bed."
He did, yeah, that's right.
That?
Yeah,
and I thought,
did.
This guy's really
he loved
into
stardom, didn't he?
Yeah.
He loved it. He liked being the man with the people who did it. But
we got treated to an afternoon tea with him and his wife. That was very nice.
Yeah, that's right.
And where were we when we went on that roller coaster?
Margate.
That's right.
Pat will tell you the story that what he suggests. Bear in mind, this is about an hour before we're meant to go on. No, it's probably about an hour and a half. But just before we're going on stage, Patrick takes up the story.
Yes, well, we were trying to fill our time with something to do. Never been to Margate before, so we decided to go up and down the seafront and to the amusement parks. And then there was this roller coaster or quite erratic ride going on. I said, "Martin, we ought to have a go at that." Well, Martin doesn't like roller coasters that much, do you?
No.
But he come on, as you do. He came on with me, sat in the seat, and we went on the ride, and then when it finished, I got up to get off, and he was stiff as a board. Absolutely white, pale white.
I've never been on one since.
And I don't think that was really what you were expecting, was it?
No, I just felt so dizzy. I remember that. God, I've written all about this in the book as well.
Right. Yeah. So we progressed and did a few shows. We did a male strippers show, didn't we? Do you remember that one?
Was that with Katrina?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
no, it wasn't a male stripper show. It was a show.
Well, no, it was a show that they thought was going to have some strippers in.
Female strippers, wasn't it?
And there wasn't.
And there wasn't any on.
Because it was called...
It was us.
Yeah, it was an adult show.
Yeah.
And now most people who, you read what an adult show is, you'd think there'd be a stripper and a blue comedian.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't this night. And there was just us.
That was just us.
And this girl singer. And she went out and after the interval, I remember saying, "If you want to see some, you know what, I'll show you." And I think all the blokes left then.
Yeah.
But we did our routine, didn't we? I remember. And
Yeah.
we came back and we got paid afterwards.
Yeah.
And I remember the agent, I won't say his name, I remember him coming up to us and saying, "Well, that went better than last year's show." No, I thought, what are they doing 2 shows the same?
No, we nearly done
We
a
weren't in
runner.
last year's show.
No, we weren't, but we nearly done a runner, didn't we? We took
I
one look
know.
at yours and thought, this ain't going to work, surely.
Yeah.
But we
and
got
then what
got away with
happened?
it.
What happened? He wanted us to turn professional.
That's right.
For him.
Yeah.
Okay. He offered us 40 weeks in Blackpool as our first ever contract, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I always remember, I always wanted to be professional. And I thought, am I ready for it? And I thought, well, I could be. I'll see what Pat says. So we both went away and we both wrote down on a piece of paper what we thought. Because when you sit next to someone and you can take in what they're saying and not really think it's, along the same lines.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, if he writes down on paper, he can't change it and I can't change it. And we more or less wrote the same thing, didn't we? That we would like the offer, but...
Yeah, we had...
it was too early, wasn't it?
2 young families, didn't we? And so much to give up for it at a risk. And having just done that gig, we didn't have a lot of confidence in that particular agent. But that was an offer. that came our way. And then we moved on to some talent show. After the talent shows, we moved on to some TV competitions, didn't we?
Yeah, that was good.
Was the first one we did Barrymore?
Yeah, up in Wolverhampton, wasn't
That's right, yeah. So we did a show the night before, didn't we? And then traipsed all the way up to...
No, that was before the audition.
The audition, that's right, yeah.
We'd done a show near Southend.
Yeah.
I don't know where it was, but we thought we'd stay in Southend before the audition.
Yeah.
And we walked into a guest house, didn't we? And
that's right.
The lady looked us up and down, and then we went in, got the rooms and all that. But anyway, we then done the talent show, and I always remember a lady said, well, if you two get on, I'll remember you, because we used to have outsized costumes, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
82-inch waist, something like that.
We used to do a Blues Brothers routine in those, didn't we?
Yeah, and that's another story, that is.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got through the auditions at the Cliffs Pavilion in Southend and went on to Barrymore, didn't we?
That's right.
And it was the Mary Hill shopping precinct. Yeah. And it had a little railway going round it that you could sit on.
That's
do you remember?
Right. Yeah, I do.
And I remember the show being held up for Barrymore because he was falling around like he does on this thing. So it was a great experience.
It was a great experience. And then we moved on to ITV.
Well, first of all, we got him to dance with us, didn't we, on the show?
Yeah, yeah.
We mustn't forget that, because that was really important. We gave him a set of glasses and a hat. Yeah. And because he came backstage filming, I remember, and we thought, if we're going to get on, we've got to give him these, and he'll dance with us. And we were lucky, and we got on. And our clip I remember being shown half a dozen times. Yeah. During the week, and back home, do you remember we got offered to open Fates? Yeah, didn't we?
Yeah, the stardom went right to our heads.
Yeah, I remember one day in our local paper there was a picture of us holding tin cans that had balls thrown at them, and it was like they weren't throwing them at us, but that was the picture in the paper, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good. So then we moved on to the Pot of Gold with Des O'Connor.
Yes,
that was an interesting day.
That's when we went to Nottingham, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah,
but we'd done an audition in London again.
That's right. Yeah, we'd done the audition to get through to the next stage.
Do you remember the thing we did?
I can remember it, but I can't remember, what did we do?
What we did was the microphone, pretending the lead wasn't working. We're cutting the lead.
That's right. Yeah,
and we had a pyrotechnic on stage with an explosion.
That's right. Yeah,
yeah. That was the routine we did.
Ah, okay.
And you cut my tie in the audition. Yeah, in the suit, the outside suit, because the tie and the shirt and the jackets were all in together. You just unzipped it and stepped into it as a foam suit. And I remember so I had to sew that tie back for future shows, because we never used the routine again after the faulty explosion, which didn't work when it did, and suddenly it went off when it shouldn't.
Then I remember the spinning plates routine. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
We used to do a spinning plates. Blackpool, yeah. We used to do a spinning plate routine where we kept these plates going.
That's right.
And I used to throw them to you, didn't you?
Yeah. And then I'd return them.
Yeah. That was quite a good experience until we injured one of the people in the audience.
Well, the trick worked that I threw a plastic plate to Patrick, and then I threw another plastic plate to Patrick, and then he smashed it together and goes, "Hey!" like that, and then we carry on dancing. Then he chucks to me a plate, which is a proper plate, and then he throws another one, which is, and then I smash it and go, "Hey!" And of course, the thing goes everywhere.
Smashed to bits.
But this poor lady in the audience, wasn't it? Yeah. She sat in the front row of the audience, and a piece of the crockery flew over and smashed into her knee and cut her open. And I said to Pat, there was other acts on as well, and I said, after we've finished, I've got to go around there and see the lady. And luck would have it, she was really nice, wasn't she? And we apologised. Oh, doesn't matter, dear. She said that could have happened anywhere. And I thought, well, I hope it's not going to happen anywhere. So we cut the routine.
We cut the routine, yeah. That was interesting. But they were good times, weren't they? And then, as time went on, we carried on with various things, and eventually we find ourselves here with our podcast now.
Yeah, well, we had a break when because you went off and very, very successfully was working with all your architecture and all that, weren't you? Drawing and
Yeah, that got really, really busy, so I had to concentrate on that to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
Because we never got paid a lot of money for the entertainment, and never was going to, unless we got
we weren't
spotted.
world famous, but we
did okay.
We did it. We enjoyed what we did.
Enjoyed it. That's the main thing. Wasn't it?
I carried on singing as a solo, and then eventually went to Spain, but we kept in contact, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then when we came back, that's when we really kept in contact via hospital.
Yeah. Well, I had my first heart attack in 2009, and then lasted 10 years, and then had a second heart attack, and a year or so after that, you got diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. So the name of Who's Tom and Dick is Roman Cockney slang for who's sick.
Yeah.
Sick. Who's Tom and Dick? Who's sick? So that's where that name comes from. And it was one day when I came to hospital to visit you that you were quite down, and you thought you were going to have to give up your singing career, and
which you have.
And just wondered what you're going to fill your life with going forward. And that's where we come up with the idea of this podcast, to try and help others. And
so it's Pat's fault, everybody.
Yeah, it's my fault. But no, we put it together, and the aim is to help others in a similar position to us. But we are both fairly positive. We've got a positive mental attitude towards our illness, where one thing we both recognised when we were receiving treatment was that the patients around us were really, really low and hadn't got the benefit of a positive mental attitude, had they?
Yeah. Well, not everybody has.
No, of course.
And you can't put it in someone, really, can you? You've either got it or you haven't.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see that with the people that we get on with our interviews. We get people who have, had bad times, and they get through it, and they come through the other end, and they're fine. And I saw an example of this, and the other day, young lad, who's a footballer. He started at Ipswich Town as a youth, and was rejected by the youth academy there. So he went to the youth academy at Sudbury, and he played in the first team, and he helped them in different things. So it was a little bit of a disappointment there, where he's been playing for Ipswich Town, who are in the second tier of English football, and it's a big club, and then suddenly you get rejected. So there must be so much disappointment, in what he had. Well, anyway, he's picked himself up, and he's then gone on to Aldershot, and Aldershot are in the sixth tier of our football league. And then suddenly, out of the blue, last week, he's been transferred, and he's now gone to the second tier, which is one tier below our Premiership, which is the best football league in the world, I would say.
Yeah,
ahead of Spain. So it just shows you, from disappointment, and you persevere, and with a positive mental attitude, you can get through.
Yeah, not to give up is the secret, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
But the trouble is, it's easy saying all this, or it is for me and you, I suppose. When you've just been given that terrible news, how can you look positively? You've got to dig deep for that.
It's not a thing you can teach. I'd love to be able to teach it to someone or tell.
Yeah, but I think that's where hopefully our podcasts come in, so we can convey, how positivity can help you with your treatment, and help you get through the treatment, which is the most important thing, because to get to the other side, if you've got a positive mental attitude, you look at things totally differently. And you've got to let, your life has still got to go on in some respects, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
But there's a lot of questions to be answered. That's the first thing you do, is go home and Google it. You don't hear what the doctor's telling you. So you go home Googling and... Well,
I did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we all do. But that's one thing we would advise people not to, really.
Yeah.
But
there's so many different cases. With heart disease, there's so many causes of heart disease, from hereditary to the foods you eat and things like that. So you could be Googling the wrong section of heart disease. The same with your cancer, because
I've got 6 kinds.
You've got 6 kinds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you just Google lung cancer, you're going to bring up the most popular one, aren't you?
Yeah.
And not your one necessarily.
Yeah. And I've got the least of all. There's only 6,000 people with what I've got.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So, positivity is important if you can dig deep and find
especially when I think to myself that, they've given me this liraglutide to have as my drug to cure me, which is working really well. And I think to myself, well, if there's only 6,000, there's not so many people. We could get more drugs for our cancer.
Yeah.
So that's I keep positive by thinking of that.
Yeah.
I keep positive of thinking about this and various other things in my life. My family.
The biggest problem is when you're at home, you get a lot of time to think. And
on your own at times,
especially if you're on your own. So if you don't keep active in some shape or form, most of those thoughts are negative thoughts.
So at home, on a regular day, I'll tell you what I do, and then I get up, I wash up, I do the washing, which keeps me going.
Don't let Wendy hear this. For goodness sake.
And then I might, it gets to dinner time, and I do that, and I walk my dog after dinner, and then straight the time just goes so quick. And then obviously we do one of these or, something like that. So that's how I fill my day. And we go to the club. So, what about yourself when you get up?
There's always something to do. I'm doing some work for James in his business, searching for stuff for him. I'm doing stuff on the podcast. I'm researching. I always fill my life with something to do. I never ever get bored.
No, nor do I.
The only time I'll say that I get bored is if I'm queuing for anything. I can't abide queuing. It just drives me nuts because I'm not doing anything, just standing in a line. But other than that, the days are going by so fast.
Mine do.
My day has ended before I've began, really. I think here I am going to bed again.
Yeah.
So filling your life with things to do is so important in
That's
getting
what
through.
We would recommend, wouldn't we?
Definitely.
To everybody.
Not just hobbies and things like that. 'Cause they do play their parts, but you've got to find things that, interest you.
Well, most people have got a garden, haven't they? Just cut your grass. Some people don't even cut the grass. That annoys me, but that's another subject.
Well, the thing is, it's a chore in some people's minds. Some people are not, they don't like physical things,
But this is where they pick the wrong thing to use. You see, they if they've got a lot, get a motor mower. Don't get just one of these fly mower things. No,
they've got to have the right tool for the job.
Yeah,
most definitely. No, when you're in hospital, you have a lot of time to think, don't you? Because there's nothing else to do. Absolutely nothing. You try and find things to do, but in the end, you sort of have time to think.
Fill those forms out for your food, and that's about all you have to do.
And one thing I thought when I was in hospital, because I'm always not arguing with my boys, but I have some discussions with them sometimes. And the reason I have the discussions is because what I'm trying to do is guide them through their early part of life, which I've been through, and making sure they don't make the same mistakes I've made. But they simply see it as me telling them what to do, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I just don't want them to make the mistakes. I want them to be successful and get through life with the minimum amount of knockdowns as you can. But they see it, as I say, as me trying to tell them what to do and guide their lives, and I know it all, which I don't. But when I was in hospital, I thought, right, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to just try my hardest. Sometimes it's difficult, just to let them get on with their lives, make their own mistakes. If they need help, they'll come to me, and I'll happily give it. But I'm not going to force it down their throat like I've been trying to do, just to, I've been there, I've done that, and it's so easy.
I'm sure there's loads of other people along the same lines.
Do you feel the same sometimes?
No, I don't actually. No, I've always let my kids get on with their lives.
Yeah, they've grown up really nice boys as well, so that's good that you've not had any interference with that. Well done.
I'm so proud of Natalie and all that, and Johnny's got all his tutoring and all that, and I might be able to say something big what he's going to do soon, which fingers crossed is going to happen in the summer. Yeah. So no, I just let them get on with it, And
well, I'm proud of all my three, and they've all never been out of work. Always worked hard. Made a lot of their own choices. Some of them good, some of them bad, but we all do that. But yeah, I'm proud of all three of them. So I couldn't ask for any more.
No,
really.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. That's a little bit of chat about us, really, isn't it? So we've got to this podcast.
Yeah.
And this is where we are. We're trying to promote positive mental attitude.
100%.
And invite listeners to come in and tell us their story, which they can do online through any of the mediums that we provide. Even our website has a recording section where you can come on and record a story or ask a question, simple question, and we'll try our best to answer it.
Or so, if we've made you happy, let us know.
Yeah, well, we want you to get involved, really. So, yeah, right, I suppose, really, having come to the end, it's time for Martin's Joke of the Week.
Later on this year, we'll be talking to a car designer who's crossed a Toyota with Quasimodo. He's come up with a hatchback of Notre Dame. A little chuckle there from Pat.
I have had a few comments about some of your jokes, Martin, from a guy called Richard, who's made a few comments. And okay, moving on. We've got a really, really, really exciting announcement now, haven't we?
We have.
After 18 or 19 episodes or whatever we're up to, I can't remember now without looking in the book, Martin has dreamed of having a celebrity on our podcast. And for the first time next week, we've got our very first celebrity coming on.
Yeah, we have. Can I announce who it is?
Of course you can.
And, ladies and gentlemen, we have got the legend that is still touring to this very day with all the other comedians and everything. We've got Joe Pasquale.
Get on your nerves.
Get on your nerves. Get on your nerves. We know a song that'll get on your nerves.
Yeah, brilliant. Joe Pasquale has kindly agreed to come on to our podcast and tell us a few stories that he's not told anybody else and dig into his life a little bit.
Yeah, and we've got some questions that we're going to fire at him. Yeah, I just can't wait.
We are so excited about this.
We are.
So please tune in for Joe. Some of the American listeners won't know who Joe Pasquale is, will they?
Well, we hear through the grapevine that he did help. He was on the Muppet Show.
That was the 25th anniversary. I think he was on the Muppets.
Yeah,
celebrating. Recorded it in Hollywood.
If you American viewers get on YouTube and look Joe Pasquale and the
Muppets 25th anniversary. So he has put his foot in across the water, and he's going to tell us all about some of his personal life and his experiences, and of course a lot about showbiz. So we're really looking forward to that. We can't announce that enough. Joe Pasquale, ladies and gentlemen.
See you next week, everyone.
Have a safe weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll be back. Bye.
Bye, everyone.